this time, I am so excited about sharing our panelists with you tonight. Dr. Jared Patton, Dr. Jim Holland, and Dr. Centrell Crawford. So they are going to introduce themselves. They're going to share some information, and then we're gonna wrap this party up. So let me stop sharing my screen. See if I can do this. Stop sharing my screen. Get back over to the green room and bring in my guest. Hello. I think I made it. I think everybody's here.
Hey.
Hello, Dr. Centrell, Dr. Patton, Dr. Holland. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Woo! So I want to take a few minutes and have each of you introduce yourself, and we'll start with Dr. Centrell.
Hi, I'm Dr. Centrell Crawford. I'm a psychiatrist who mostly focused on addiction, and I mostly practice as a local physician in Pennsylvania. I'm also best-selling author of The Urge Fix, which is an addiction recovery guide for people who are suffering from addiction. I run the podcast Urge Fix. Also, I'm the producer, filmmaker of Us versus the Plant, which is a medical marijuana documentary that I just released, due to COVID, not really, but for 2020. But it is definitely being viewed by multiple people. I had a viewing last night with Dr. Jared Patton. He's my ride or die, my accountability partner, my muse sometimes. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I'm excited because we're going to share the trailer of the movie tonight. So thank you for joining us. Dr. Jim Holland.
What's up, guys? I'm Dr. Jim. I am basically a CBD advocate. I'm a chiropractor. I practice in Richmond, Virginia. I'm still really active in practice. I just saw 50 or 60 people today. But I do a tremendous amount of just sort of education about sort of the natural benefits of CBD, and I probably have done nearly 100 videos about CBD and the different ways that it may have positive impact for you. But I'm just glad to be on here because obviously I have not made any films. I'm feeling underdressed, like Dr. Patton brought his A game and I just didn't get the memo. So I'm gonna do my best though. All right. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Jim. Dr. Patton.
Hey, everybody out there. I'm Dr. Jared Patton. I'm a board certified pediatrician and also a cannabis physician in the state of Pennsylvania. As you heard Dr. Centrell mention, I'm the narrator of her film, Us versus the Plant, and I've had an interest in cannabis over the last several years. So I'm happy to be here to speak with you guys.
Welcome. So I'm going to jump right in. I have given each of you a topic, and I'd like for you to just kind of set the tone for where we are in today, with cannabis, with CBD. And so, Dr. Jim, I'd like to ask you if you would just kind of start us out with why CBD now? Why cannabis now? Why are we talking about this now?
Well,
why should people care?
The truth is your two other experts probably know a lot about that whole thing. Is that I think as a society, as a country, we're looking for more natural things. Drug addiction, whether it be, certainly there is the opioid crisis really got me really interested in CBD. So you have things like opioids and the fact that we can become addicted to prescription medications. And so the idea that we could, there's recreational and there's prescription. So as a chiropractor, I'm always looking from the natural side, like what if there was something that was natural, that was non-addictive, like non-psychoactive, has very few side effects. What if there was something like that that could really have an impact? And for me, it was my patients, you know, it's like anything that ends with itis, like that's what we're going to work on, right? I mean, itis means inflammation. So like my people needed something natural for the itises. And so I was looking for what's something, you know, that's not going to tear up their stomach. You know, like there's a lot of just reduce side effects, really positive. So that's really what attracted me to CBD. My wife and I joke, you know, we're kids of the 80s. So like just say no was like just drilled into our heads. So like I was never a like marijuana can't, like that wasn't going to be for me. But when I discovered sort of, and I'm not, once again, not against it, just it wasn't my route. But what I found out was like CBD was like a whole different world. And it got me really excited. And then you start finding out not only does it have a really positive impact physically on your itises, your inflammations, and your pains, but we got this incredible system built into your body called your endocannabinoid system. And when you feed it cannabinoids, like it works on bringing about balance and homeostasis to the body. And as a natural doctor, like that's all I want is balance and homeostasis. And when the body has balance and homeostasis, it literally has the ability, I mean, the body has a ridiculous and amazing ability to heal itself built right into it. So if you can create some balance there, there's a whole host of, you know, positive things that can happen. And that's why I think now is really a time for CBD, is because I think as a nation, as we're trying to move away from addictive medications, not saying that all medications are bad, just there's some inherent issues sometimes with them and side effect. And if there was something natural that could solve, like, I mean, inflammation has its hand in literally every known disease process on the planet. So if CBD can have a positive impact in inflammation, you're having a positive impact in a lot of different places. And that's what really got me into it. That's why I'm so excited. That's why I get really loud and to talk a lot with my hands. So thank you guys. But that would be my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Jim. And I love it when you talk with your hands, because I talk with my hands too.
Good. We can be friends.
Dr. Jared. So, you know, I love balance and homeostasis. I love those words that Dr. Jim just shared with us about how we can use CBD and use this plant for this. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, why we need to, before we start out and jump in and lead, you know, talking to our physician? Why should we talk to our physician first? You know, just when I went to see the doctor, I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I want to say that I use this oil, like, I don't know, like it should be a secret. So why should people talk to their doctors first? What should that conversation look like? Like, you know, let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, that sounds great. And Dr. Jim mentioned that we all are built with an endocannabinoid system. And I didn't really find the real impact of this until I was at a celebrity entrepreneur conference last fall. And I'm walking around New York City after the conference, had a good day, and decided to go into some bar that, if you guys are used to New York City, some of the bars and restaurants, you have to walk down the stairs. So I go down the stairs into some place and I grab something to eat. And I see a line of people kind of standing up, and there's some guy serving ice cream. And I said, well, ice cream would make my day even much better. So I get to the front of the line and I look at this unassuming guy serving this ice cream, and he serves me up a scoop of salted caramel. And I find out that he's Jerry Greenfield of Ben & Jerry's. And I'm having this conversation with him, and he tells me how he applied to medical school when he was in college, applied to 20 different medical schools, got 20 different rejection letters, and didn't know what to do with his life. So he took an ice cream making course at Penn State for $5, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Well, I felt pretty silly after hearing that because I said, boy, he really made the right decision. But that made me think as he talked about ice cream line they're working on that actually contains CBD. I'm just like, CBD is everywhere. And I had been spending some time working with some of the leading nation's experts in medicine, some of the leading research scientists around cannabis, and learning a lot about this. And I brought this here to show you. This is one of my medical school books. This is Harrison's Internal Medicine textbook. You see, this book is full of information that we had to learn. Now, granted, I went to med school about 20 years ago. There's still a lot of knowledge in this specific book that I had to learn. They talked about the cardio system, the respiratory system, the digestive system. I didn't hear anything about an endocannabinoid system while I was in school. So I'm just going to read you a brief passage, one of the 4 paragraphs that are in the book about marijuana at all, the only mention in this entire book. And I'm just going to read these 2 sentences. Marijuana related emergency department admissions for males between the ages of 12 and 17 escalated by almost 100% during 1991 to 1993. Marijuana filled cigars from which tobacco was removed, blunts, were increasingly smoked by young adults in urban and rural communities. Okay, that's all they had to say on this subject. Drugs of abuse. I read this from a medical textbook. Now, granted, it was around the year 2000, but that's okay. The point is, there is a knowledge gap that remains out there, because if you're not like Dr. Centrell or Dr. Jim or myself and have taken extra efforts to really educate yourself and learn about these things, there are many doctors that are practicing today that don't know about these things. So having that conversation can be very difficult with your physician sometimes, but you have to start somewhere. And the reason we want you to start somewhere is, well, this is a medication and it does interact with your body and it can interact with other medications. So it's something you want to be using with the help of a physician or a trusted health professional or another doctor. As I wrap my piece up right here, I want you guys to know that it can be difficult and you may meet a couple of different types of people. Some doctors out there may already have their mind made up. They may already have their biases. We know that they may not have gotten any training, and they'll talk about you using a cream or a tincture or something else, or rolling a blunt and say, yeah, don't be bothering with that stuff. And there may be others like us here on the panel tonight that can understand that and say, well, there are some ways that you can safely use these medications to help cause that homeostasis. And one of the biggest reasons out there that may make this conversation difficult with your doctors is the stigma. And having stigma and that negative connotation of anything cannabinoid, whether it comes from the hemp plant, whether it comes from a marijuana plant, there's something negative about that. And some people can't get beyond that line of thinking, realizing all of the positive benefits that are out there. So you may have to shop around a little bit, but start having that conversation with your own trusted health professional.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jerry. And you just teed it up. You just teed it up really well, because I want to talk to Dr. Centrell about that stigma. You know, I ran substance abuse programs for the state of Georgia. The thing that we would tell people is, you know, marijuana is the gateway drug. It's going to send you to the pits of hell. All this stuff. And then, here I am now. I'm like an advocate for the plant, So you go from the just say no to, well, wait, there's some pieces of this plant, literally, that are provide beneficial health benefits. And so, Dr. Centrell, can you talk about the stigma around I know you addressed this in your docufilm, but can you talk about the stigma around using CBD, hemp, a combination of CBD, THC, some of the stigma, what people have to face, how to deal with it, just,
So, the funny thing about the stigma is, marijuana was used for millennia, right? So in China, it was called ma. In India, it was called bong, blang. What did you call it? Bong. Uh, Ganja. I like ganja. It got associated with the Rastafarians. But, even in the U.S., in an 1850, in our U.S. pharmacopoeia, cannabis was considered a medicine for tetanus, convulsive disorders, anxiety, insanity, alcoholism, opiate addiction. But then when we got to around the 1920s, when we started having more immigrations of the Mexicans who smoked the plant, and also the other legal issues that occurred during that time, we had that Harry Anslinger, who was the administrator of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He went crazy because because we had ended prohibition with alcohol. Now alcohol was legal. There's no way to go against alcohol. So now he needs a new plan. So he played on the fears and xenophobia and just the fears of Americans, white Americans. So he started using papers. He started using the papers. He had Reefer Madness made. He also had a big political pull where he started having Marijuana Tax Act. Then he had the Controlled Substance Act. And he actually went to the UN. And in the UN, he was able to make cannabis illegal there too. So, then we had the Nixon administration, war on drugs. Then we have cannabis. And then, I'm an 80s babies as well. All I knew is don't do drugs. Marijuana is dope. It's going to lead me to the gates of hell. Mm-hmm. And it's the gateway drug, So it was actually very interesting around 2-3 years ago. Then I had patients coming to me saying, all I knew, cannabis, you had cannabis in your system. I put the check mark. You're going to probably have other drugs. You're probably going to end up on cocaine. You're going to end up on opiates. Mm-hmm. That was my medical diagnosis. I had the Harrison's book. We have the DSM. The only thing in the DSM is cannabis use disorders. We don't learn anything about the endocannabinoid system. I learned about that 2 years ago. I've been a physician for 10 years. I learned about endocannabinoid system, CBD, THC 2 years ago. Besides THC being positive on a drug test, and me being concerned about the patient, me being concerned that the patient would have more anxiety, me being concerned the patient would be more psychotic if he didn't use this drug. Mm-hmm. So I got interested. My patient started asking, like Rose said, she asked her diabetes doctors, the endocrinologist, about, I guess, CBD or THC, and he had met with opposition. You go into your physicians. There are some physicians who are advocates. There's some physicians who are learning about the drug now. But most physicians are going to frown because we have been taught it's the gateway drug. It's bad. So, what was I getting at? So now I'm on this journey trying to answer the question for my patients. So I don't say, so I'm not the fool in the office. My patient will know more than me about cannabis. That's not something I want. Oh no, this is helping my fibromyalgia. This is helping my anxiety. This is helping this and that. But I find it as a balance. You can't just use THC. When you just get it from the street, it's bad. You got to have CBD, THC in a balanced system that works, not just going and smoking marijuana on the streets. Actually, the whole term marijuana is actually linked to racism and xenophobia because actually it was linked to Mexicans in the 1920s when they came over and they were smoking it. So they saw that marijuana is, reefer madness. It's going to cause you anxiety. They're going to rape and pillage our women. So actually the term is cannabis. So those are the things. That's where the stigma came from, pretty much. I mean, in the World War II, it was a plant. Actually, the U.S. was transporting 60,000 pounds of cannabis each year. So how did we get here? And how is it Schedule 1? Schedule 1. How does it's a gateway to other drugs that are less Schedule 2?
It's a couple of things I want you to explain. You mentioned xenophobia, and then kind of can you explain kind of Schedule 1, Schedule 2 for folks who may not know what that means.
Schedule 1 is the classification used by the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA. So Schedule 1 is saying that pretty much marijuana has no medicinal value. Schedule 1 drugs have no medicinal value for consumption. So what else is in there? Heroin. Cocaine is actually Schedule 2 because they feel like cocaine is, I guess, has some medicinal value. It could if it wasn't so addictive. It's a good vasodilator, a good anesthetic, but it's addictive. So marijuana was placed in the category where it's no medicinal value.
So I hear you saying that, but I know, I saw in your documentary, I think I heard Dr. Jim talk about this last week. If it's so bad, why does the government have
a patent?
2 patents? Is it 2 patents?
Right. Actually, yeah. So actually, I don't know if you guys can see this, but my I can't even bring it up. But my case number is actually the patent number for the U.S. It's like 6604133. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So they actually, for that patent, they say it has. The patent actually is for Alzheimer's and HIV dementia.
Okay.
So that was done around the 60s, actually, because there's a lot of research about it. They actually wanted to research it to make. So Nixon even had a panel. I forgot what the panel was called. It was actually like the Schaeffer's panel, where he was wanting them to research marijuana and pretty much help him make an argument for the war on drugs against marijuana. Wow. But the panel said, actually, no, it actually works. It actually has medicinal value. So he ignored that panel and still propagated the war on drugs, still funded the militarization of the police department and funding to get marijuana off the streets. So,
So we go from, wow, this is a plant that has, here we are today, 2020. We have this plant that, is taken over. It's everywhere. It's in, you can use it for your pets. You can use it in makeup. I was looking at something today. They've got the CBD shampoo and conditioner. I mean, so we've gone from, this is the plant that, will take you down the deep end to now here is a plant that has proven medical health benefits. So the question I want to ask to each of you is CBD something that we can consider a supplement, like a vitamin?
Well, I'll go. So that, I mean, whenever I do a video, I always kind of start with my disclaimer, which is number one is I'm not your doctor tonight. You're not my patient tonight. And there's absolutely nothing about this video that constitutes a doctor-patient relationship. So please do not change anything about your current medical treatment because I said something cool in this video. Number two is CBD is a supplement. It's not a drug. Therefore, it is not intended for the diagnosis, treatment, or cure of any specific disease or condition. So, I mean, that's where you get in trouble. Unless you're a medical doctor, then certainly you can diagnose and you can treat really with anything. But when I look at CBD, I look at it as I mean, it's a plant. So therefore, as long as we keep it the plant, it's a supplement. There's an approved drug for epilepsy, Epidiolex, that is a CBD drug, and basically they do some stuff to it and they concentrate it and they make it a few things. So now it's not quite exactly how it exists in nature. So it's now a drug. So, but for me, it is a supplement. At the same time, just like Dr. Patton said earlier, it does impact things like your cytochrome P450 pathway in your liver. So when you're talking about getting like detoxing drugs out that you take, like it will impact. Now, I usually tell people that I don't think it necessarily it doesn't necessarily interact with your drug, but it does it interacts with your liver, which will change how your drugs will impact your body. So they will tend to stay in your system longer and act stronger. And so that's something that you need to talk to your doctor about. But overall, I think CBD, sorry, I've never talked for only 5 minutes in my whole life. So, so definitely, I think CBD is a supplement with a really wide array of medicinal properties, if that's a way of saying it without saying it's a drug.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Patton, Dr. Centrell, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I guess I could say it's a supplement because actually there is a synthetic, besides the Epidiolex, there's also Marinol, which is a synthetic marijuana that we have that we give for cancer pain. If we go that route, most doctors don't. I've only experienced it once in my medical practice where in my medical school year, we gave someone with cancer Marinol, and he was able to improve his appetite and also sleep at night. And it was it's the last time I heard of Marinol. That's the last time I've seen it. That's not anyone mentioned it. I had to go look it up myself. He didn't explain it. He just gave it to the patient. The patient was like, I've never been this high in my life since I was 16. He had eaten all his food, which I was happy about because we were actually there consulted because he had poor appetite and his mood and he wasn't sleeping. So we gave him the Marinol and he perked up, So yeah, as long as we don't interfere with the plant, then we can consider it a supplement. Also, not all CBD THC is not created equal. You can't get it off Amazon. You have to actually really read the chemical analysis of what is it, certificate of analysis of the product to make sure that it is what it is. So don't just buy it off Amazon.
Or the gas station.
Or the gas station CBD. I mean, would you buy your food from? Well, some people do. Gas station hot dogs. Gas station hot dogs. You get what you get.
Just get a roll of Rolex to go with that too. So. Dr. Patton, do you want to add anything to that part about, can we think of CBD as a supplement? Can we think of it as like our vitamins that we take on a basis? And I asked that question because the survey that I did, and Dr. Centrell, I think I also heard this in your video. I think I heard it in your video that the growing number of people who are using cannabis and CBD are people over the age of 50, my age group. And, like now I find myself taking, I'm taking my supplements, and now this, I use a water soluble CBD tincture as a part of my day-to-day, especially now that I'm back into golf season. So for people who they may have fibromyalgia, they may have lupus, they may have a reoccurring back issue, they don't want to take the pain medication, is CBD something that they can take as a daily supplement to minimize, alleviate, not cure and treat those symptoms?
So I do think that it is considered a supplement for all practical purposes here. However, I think we could also, and I think someday it will be considered more of a medication treatment line or a treatment option for many people. There's lots of research being done on the cannabis plant and different conditions on the human body. And as this research emerges, there will be a direct cause and relationship to this. And as Dr. Centrell mentioned, you want to kind of make sure you're getting cannabis from a reliable source that's healthy, that may use less pesticides and other harmful chemicals that may be in there. But you can actually use it in and as an adjunct and along with a medication regimen, depending on what you're doing. So right now we're at an exciting time in that there's a lot of research being done on lots of different conditions and looking how the endocannabinoid system can be activated to help that. So I think we will start thinking about it in a different light in the future.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you. So I have one more question that I want to ask you, Dr. Patton. Being a pediatrician, what does the research say around CBD for ADHD? Is there much research around it? Are people utilizing it? Can you talk about that a little bit for children and adults? Because there are
Yes, and so
ADHD as well.
cannabis in general in children is extremely limited in the research body that's available. It actually is only been proven to be an adjunct to care in some very specific and severe seizure conditions in which people have used either marijuana-based or even hemp-based products, but really to get those cannabinoids into the system to help those conditions. But because the nervous system is constantly developing in kids, it's not wholeheartedly recommended as a supplement or medication for most children. So we tend to stay away from it in the pediatric instances unless it's one of these specific neurological conditions.
Okay, so keep those gummies out of the way, keep them on the high shelf, so they're not chewables for the kids. So.
Absolutely, and that again is part of my reasoning that cannabinoids will be and should be looked at as medication in the future because, well, they can have side effects as well, and that's why you want to work with your health professional in order to see what's right for you.
Very good, very good.
Disclaimer.
Thank you, guys. Are you enjoying Dr. Centrell, Dr. Jim, Dr. Jarrett? If you were a member of the Bhangology Cannabis Society, you could spend a little more time with them because they're going to come back and talk with our members in a more intimate setting. So I appreciate you guys being here with us tonight. Any final words before we show Dr. Centrell's trailer? What would you say as far as, kind of where we are, people being informed consumers and really taking the time to understand and become knowledgeable about how CBD works in the body, as well as utilizing quality products. Because what I found from the survey, and it's a little too long to share tonight, and maybe we'll do that at another time. What I found from the survey of the 120 respondents, 80% of those people who were in that age range of between 45, whatever the range was, but it was 45 to maybe 55, had no knowledge of how to use cannabis for health, but had a desire to understand a little bit more about it. So if you could just leave some final words around that topic, around if they're considering it or just where they are. So I'll let you guys have the last few words, and then we'll show the trailer.
Well, I think that the best thing that you do if you are interested, if you're curious about cannabinoids and how they could help with you, the first step is to really learn more about it. It's not to go to the gas station or buy something online or try something your friend said worked for them. It's really to find out some more research on your own to see what could be a good option for you. And then it's really about having that conversation with your doctor and saying, what is this and could it help me? And then you go from there. it's not going to be a magic solution to all of your problems. So I wouldn't take a look at it that way, but it certainly can be a help to treating specific problems in your life.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Patton. Dr. Holland.
Yeah. So number one, next time I need a heads up, because Dr. Patton, I don't know how old you are either, but it sounds like we're about the same. Like you age, are you aging in reverse? What is going on? Like, this isn't fair. And in the voice, like, come on. All right. Anyway, so what my, and this is the best part, because we have sort of, we sort of have the medical doctor and the chiropractor, which are obviously going to have slightly different sort of just ways we think and philosophical viewpoints. But a lot of it's going to agree, because we obviously are both in this for the right reasons, and that we really think that really people's health is what's most important, not our own. Right. And so when it comes to CBD and whether you should try it or not, and how to look at it from a wellness perspective, like one of the things, one of the U.S. patents is really basically for its antioxidant and neuroprotective effects. Well, yeah, like there's a lot going on up here, and I would love to protect as much of that as possible right now.
Yes.
And antioxidants, so from a daily wellness perspective, listen, you do have to, if you're sick, if you got a bunch of stuff going on, you really need to not just willy-nilly throw it in there, because if you're on blood thinning medications, if you're on blood pressure, because it's been shown to help reduce blood pressure. Well, if you're already taking something that lowers your blood pressure, and then you take this and it gets lower and you pass out, crack your head on the stone walking out of your house, and guess what? It can be a blood thinner too, and now you bleed out because the blood's so thin. Like, listen, you got to take this serious. You can't just do it willy-nilly. But vitamin, like CBD is in my top two things. Like if there's two supplements that you want to take, it's vitamin D and CBD, because where else does not having balance in your, when would not having balance in your body be important? It would always be important. So Dr. Patton was right. Man, I learned every system in the body. They never mentioned this endocannabinoid system. And then I come to find out, like, oh, it helps your nervous system talk to your endocrine system talk to your digestive system. And what? So if they've got that, like, I want all those things talking together. I want to protect my brain. I am certainly if you're sick, you need to be careful, and you should talk to Dr. Patton, go to his office. And I'm sure he would have a line out the front, but definitely, I'm a big fan, and I recommend it to a lot of my patients with the itises. And if you're looking for general overall wellness, I think there's a lot of benefits to it that way as well. Just sort of my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Holland. And last but not least, we're going to end with Dr. Centrell. And then Dr. Centrell, you can take us right into the trailer. But before you start, guys, if you have enjoyed tonight's open house, tell me how much you're enjoying it in the chat. I see people saying it's great to get information from experts. This is great information, informative. Knowledge is power. So just give our guests some hand claps or whatever you do in the chat. Give them some love in the chat, some hearts and all of that stuff, because I know the last 6 weeks I have been like digging down into this information, as a researcher, just reading so much and hearing about how it's really benefiting people, how it's really helping them. And so what that did for me was really confirm that I was on the right track. And so I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Dr. Jared, Dr. Jim, I look forward to seeing you in the Cannabis Society, where you talk a little bit more with our members. Guys, if you This is the last night. If you are interested in coming on board, you won't be a founding member, but if you want to come on board, you can, and grow with us as we grow through this this phase of creating this wellness community. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Centrell, who will leave us with some parting words and share the trailer to her docufilm, which she will also be having viewings. Is it viewings, Dr. Centrell? I'll let you tell everybody about that and how where the next one is going to be and how we can all go see the movie. I saw it, but I want to see it again.
So I actually think, as far as CBD is concerned, I think people should do their research. They should start with, start with a community like this, Bhangology. Start learning about the endocannabinoid system. Start learning the different components of hemp, the CBD versus the THC, and then go to your doctor. I know a lot of people are afraid to, and maybe some doctors are even afraid because actually it's still Schedule 1 federally. It's still Schedule 1. The DEA can still get us, So even though most states are moving towards legalization and moving towards being able to give people, like Georgia's CBD, Louisiana has medical marijuana, which is probably a combination of both the CBD and the THC. Colorado has medical and recreational. California, medical, recreational. So depending on your state laws, your doctors will be, they would have a different view, but just keep going to them. I mean, that's what their job. That's their job in some sense, to make sure. And like today I had a patient. She was on the stimulant and she was saying that, it stops working. But also what she didn't tell me was that she smokes marijuana. So I'm like, okay, so you're taking something that's going to bring you up, but something that's sort of going to bring you down. So how are we going to balance this? So, all doctors will want to know what you're putting in your system that could affect the medication that I'm prescribing, because like Dr. Holland said, it could be a blood thinner. I mean, it can affect your cytochrome Freeport 450, and that's a big deal. I mean, it's very important that we know what you're on so that we can control the metabolism of the other drugs, or at least prevent. We can change our medication regimen. We don't have to go to a particular drug. We try something else. Let's go through something that filters through the kidney. I mean, that's easy enough, So do your research and also have an open conversation with your physician so that they are able to better help you navigate this, the different ailments that you have, as well as the medication that you're on, as well as the supplements you're taking.
Okay. Thank you. So take us away with the trailer. Tell us a little bit about the movie, and we'll share the trailer. And I could ask you guys questions all night. I probably came up with like 5 more questions, but I'm not going to keep you all night. And we're going to save some of this good stuff.
Friday night.
It is Friday night.
It is Friday night. I forgot.
And so, I know folks have some virtual other parties they want to get to, and Dr. Holland wants to get home. But if if you will just kind of tee up the trailer for us and show the trailer.
So Us versus the Plan is pretty much my year dive into the world of medical marijuana, the world of cannabis, the world of the hemp plant. So pretty much I explored the stigma, the medicinal uses, and how did we get here? How did we go from, it's bad to now it's in gas stations, and anyone can assess it. So that's and I traveled from LA to Pennsylvania. I even went to Jamaica, because everyone associates marijuana with Jamaica. Jamaica is not actually as open about it as we think they are. So even though it's ganja is actually from India. When the Indians came to Jamaica, they brought the plant over. So and then it became a part of their religious sacrament, the Rastafari. But not everyone in Jamaica is a Rastafarian, believe it or not. So pretty much I wanted to help my patients better, and I'm interested in making films. So I made a medical marijuana documentary so that people will have more access to information about medical cannabis. And maybe even this will be the start, the cannabis curious. They can watch this movie and then it starts, we use a lot of terminology, endocannabinoid system. We use CBD, THC. We talked about sativa, indica. We talked about PTSD. We talked about cancer pain. We talked about fibromyalgia. We talked about a whole bunch of different ailments in the movie so that people can have a good introduction to cannabis. So I'll show you the I'll show you the trailer. Sorry, I've never used this app.
I know it's a little tricky, but you can share your screen. I think I'm going to put us down into the. Oh, there you go. You've got it. I'm going to put everybody else down back into the green room.
Can you hear it? Make sure.
Can't hear it anymore.
Okay. Oh, you heard it before?
Yeah, I can't hear it or see it.
Okay, I messed up then. I'll go back.
Okay.
I consider marijuana a medicine, which I take every day. I have various illnesses. One of the major ones is battling with cancer. I tried all these different medications, different cognitive thinking therapies, different doctors, and then I met some doctors that said, hey, look, try medical marijuana. It helps me with nausea, pain, headaches.
There are 3 species that are most commonly recognized: cannabis sativa, cannabis indica, and cannabis ruderalis.
First of all, it's been used since 2000 BC. Okay, it was actually the first anesthetic used. At the turn of the century in the 1900s, there was 2,000 different variations of cannabis medicinally available, manufactured by, I believe, 289 different companies.
Marijuana, the word traditionally refers to brown people, which were really Mexican people who came over 1920s, like before the Marijuana Tax Act was implemented. And of course, this country is not a stranger to racism.
And then we had Reefer Madness, and basically trying to scare everyone. The Marijuana Tax Act, and that basically was the end of cannabis.
I only want to know if it's lab tested, if it meets medical standards, and give me something to smoke. They say, oh, it's a gateway drug. Mm-mm. The first drug that people usually use is alcohol. And I think that opens you up to the world of other different drugs.
When you are suffering from ailments and are in need of relief, but are in an ill state with the side effects of chemically created substances, most would like to aid or prevent the pain with something that is natural.
It hasn't been justice for all at all. I personally have friends that are in jail to this day for marijuana, but it's not. When you see stories of other races having some of the same things and not getting life, that shows you that it's not justice for all at all.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Centrell, for sharing that. I've seen it. I saw the VIP viewing of the movie, and I am looking forward to scheduling this private viewing. I know you're scheduling viewings with everybody, and I would love to. If you guys want to see a viewing of Dr. Centrell's movie, just type it in the chat. And we were actually going to try to schedule something for tomorrow, and that kind of got knocked off my calendar. So I know you're going to be showing it everywhere. July 4th, is that when it's going to be shown again? So what we will do in Bhangology and maybe here on our page is coordinate a viewing time, because we would love to view the movie and kind of have some conversation around it. So thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thank you.
I'm open next week.
Okay. I'll let you know.
I'm on vacation.
All right. So guys, this brings our event to a close. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for my virtual open house. As you can see, these are just a few of my cannabis super friends that members will actually have an opportunity to engage with, so they can learn, grow, and shop together. So we can learn more about how to deal with our itises, how to create more balance and homeostasis, and actually how to feel more confident in talking with our physicians about utilizing this supplement, this leaf as a supplement in our lives. So continue following the page for more information. Come on over to the Bhangology Cannabis Society. I think there's a link about how you can sign up and join and come along with us on this ride. And again, I thank you for being here tonight, sharing in this this night with us. And we wish you a happy Friday, happy Juneteenth. Thank you. Bye.